Do you wish you could get a good night's sleep?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes, we do. In this episode, Nancy and I are talking with the amazing Dr. Glenna Brewster, who is with Emory University's School of Nursing. We're talking with her today about her sleep study and creating good sleep habits, which we can all use.
Yes, we can.
And we're sharing 5 tips. Welcome. We are Sue Ryan
and Nancy Treaster.
This podcast brings our years of experience in a variety of family caregiving roles to prepare you to navigate your caregiving journey.
We're sharing our personal experiences, not medical advice. And because it's our passion to support you on your journey, we believe no topic is off limits. Let's get started. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. Let me introduce Glenna to you because you're going to be very impressed. And then I can't wait for you to hear all about these good sleep habits.
These are great habits.
Sue and I've already learned a lot just having a discussion with Dr. Brewster. So we're really looking forward to sharing these with you. Dr. Glenna Brewster is a nurse scientist, family nurse practitioner, and assistant professor at Emory University School of Nursing.
Gracious, that's a lot.
It is. I feel very undereducated. She leads the Mind at Rest research team, which develops and tests practical, evidence-based programs to reduce sleep problems and improve health outcomes for people living with memory loss or dementia and their caregivers. So listen up, people. This isn't just about your care receiver. This is about you too. Dr. Brewster's work is recognized nationally and internationally for advancing dementia care and supporting family caregivers through the community partnerships and research. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
And please tell us more about your study.
Thank you. Sleep problems, especially if you're a caregiver or a person living with cognitive impairment, you would recognize that they're significant and you would have a hard time falling asleep. You might wake up multiple times during the night, or you might notice that as the disease progresses, that there is daytime sleepiness. So sleep disturbances are prevalent both in care partners or caregivers and people living with cognitive impairment. And that is what I wanted to understand and address. As a result, I have developed the Sleepmate study. That is a study for both caregivers and people living with cognitive impairment across the trajectory to dementia, where we are wanting to see whether or not this intervention, it's a 6-week virtual intervention, and you participate together. And I want to see, is it feasible? Is it acceptable? And does it improve your sleep outcomes? And when you participate, we are asking you to wear a watch because we want to see how it is, objectively that you're sleeping. We also want you to record it because we know sometimes how we feel and what we see might not be the same thing. So we want to look at it objectively and subjectively. We're also asking you over a few months to fill out some questionnaires to determine, does the intervention help with how you feel psychologically? Does it help with your quality of life, both for you and the person living with cognitive impairment or dementia? So what I want to tell you is there's more to find out, so stick around. And as we get to the end of the program, you can find out how you'll qualify for the study.
That's wonderful. Glenna, this topic is so valuable, and Nancy and I have both learned the need for quality sleep and what not having it is like. And while we've also learned that we're so focused on quality sleep for our care receiver,
yes,
that we don't necessarily prioritize our own sleep. And as caregivers, our quality of sleep is every bit as important and actually, sometimes even more important than theirs. So what you're doing is really, really helpful. And that leads us to, the first tip, which is really pretty straightforward, is how do you practice good sleep hygiene? What does that mean?
So sleep hygiene means developing daily habits that would facilitate and lead to getting good sleep. And good sleep has to do with when you fall asleep. You're able to not necessarily sleep all the way through the night, but at least get some consolidated. And that means getting a few hours of sleep where you can sleep straight. Or if you wake up during the night, you're able to go back to bed and fall back asleep. I don't necessarily say good sleep has to do with when you wake up in the morning and you feel refreshed, because you can get good sleep, but not necessarily feel refreshed when you wake up based on the stage of sleep that you're in when you wake up.
Interesting.
Yes. So we say when you're practicing good sleep, one of the first things I say is do your best to go to sleep around the same time. So within about 15 minutes before or after. So for example, if you're targeting 9 p.m. to go to sleep, try to get to sleep by 9, but within the 8:45 to 9:15 window, and then get up at the same time each day. Most of us may have a hard time getting up at the same time each day. So set an alarm if you're going to have a difficulty waking up at the same time.
And
each
you mean
day.
the weekends too?
And I mean the weekends too. Yes.
Yeah,
It might be a little difficult. I know we want to sleep in, but what we want to do is get our bodies into the pattern and the habit of waking up at the same time each day.
Yes.
And you'll find eventually that you might not even necessarily need an alarm, because your body gets used to doing that. And then you just wake up at that same time each day without needing the alarm.
And so what you're saying then is it's, while we want to get to bed at about the same time, it's more important that we wake up at the exact same time every day.
Yes.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes. So
Okay.
prioritize waking up at the same time each day.
Okay.
If it's a hard thing to go to bed at the same time.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yes. The next thing is many of us like to drink coffee, but caffeine can actually impact our sleep. And you know how you respond to coffee and your loved one or the care recipient. So based on what that response looks like, then we recommend, if caffeine keeps you up, then having your last cup of coffee or having your last coffee drink before noon. Be aware, though, that coffee is in many things. So caffeine can be in medication. Caffeine is in chocolates. Caffeine is not only, I know, I have a hard time with that. So being aware of that whenever you're eating anything and considering whether or not it contains caffeine. Also, trying to limit alcohol and having large meals, or if you do smoke, nicotine or anything like that, that might impact your sleep to 2 hours, within 2 hours of bedtime. So if you're planning to go to bed by 9, I would say the last time you should have your drink, or the last time you should have a large meal would be, like 7 o'clock might be the latest. Exercise too is something we encourage you to exercise, but when we're exercising too close to bedtime, it actually makes it a bit harder for us to fall asleep. So if you want to do something, we encourage you to do gentle stretches. And then finally, we all like to drink water, I'm sure. So whenever you're drinking any types of fluids, also limiting the amount of fluid you have within 2 hours of bedtime. We say try to not have a lot of liquids within 2 hours of bedtime, because we know for sure that when we do have those liquids, then it's going to wake us up to go to use the restroom, and we want to minimize you getting up during the night to use the restroom. Right. So we say limiting liquids. And if you do feel thirsty, then you can have a sip. Just don't have 8 ounces of water before bed.
Gotcha. And Sue and I talk a little bit about this for the care receivers in our episode number 13, where we talk about overnight incontinence and really making sure that, you limit fluids late in the day, but also don't forget to make sure they're getting enough fluids. So hydration is critical, or else you'll end up with UTIs and other things. So you need to push through fluids earlier so that you can limit fluids later, but it helps everybody. So tip 2 is to limit daytime naps. And I'm all about that. Let's limit daytime naps, because I found if I take the slightest bit of nap, then I can't go to bed at night.
That happens. So we think about naps like snacks. Imagine if you're having a snack and it's close to dinner time. When dinner time gets around, you're not hungry, so you don't want to eat your dinner. So if you see napping like snacks, then when we're ready to go to bed, then we're not sleepy. I do recognize, though, that many people like their naps during the day. So one of the things we say is if you must nap, try to keep it to less than 30 minutes before 3 p.m.
Okay.
Good.
Yes.
And Glenn, I have a quick question. One of the things I used to do is I would just go sit quietly with my eyes shut, and I would literally have my phone timer on for either 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I wasn't intending to go to sleep, but it was just to kind of decompress. Is that okay?
Yes, that is okay. I see that like relaxation.
Okay.
So one of the things we also do in the intervention is we give you a short relaxation to do within about 10 minutes or so. So I see that like that where you take 10 minutes during the day and you just have that time to, as it were, get back into yourself. And that's just a pleasant activity, a time to just relax and decompress for a few moments during the day.
All right.
Another thing to think about is if the person who is living with cognitive changes or memory loss, as the disease progresses, we see them sometimes wanting to sleep more during the day, or sometimes even after the person gets the diagnosis, then all of a sudden they're not doing anything anymore. And guess what? When we are not occupied doing things, what do? We tend to sit around and sleep. Meaning throughout the day, the person who's living with cognitive changes or memory loss or dementia would be sleeping and napping a lot. And I say to many of the caregivers I interact with to work with them to find things that they enjoy doing. The diagnosis doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're no longer able to do anything. So is there something that they enjoy? Is there something that they did before that they could continue to do? And let them do it. So for example, my grandmother lived with vascular dementia for a few years. And when she was living with us, she always loved taking care of us when I was growing up. I'm an only child. I'm her only grandchild, so you can imagine. And but she liked taking care of us and taking care of the house. So when she lived with us, she would always take the broom and go and sweep. And I would say, that's fine. It's something that's keeping her occupied. And she was in a safe environment. So as long as there is something that you can identify that the person enjoyed doing before, that they can continue to do in a safe environment. They can help prep for meals. They can help do the dishes. They can sort the laundry. They can fold. It might not be how you would want it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it keeps them engaged.
Yes. There does come a time, though, when it's time to go to bed. And you've got some really good guidelines about, okay, we're serious about this now. Let's be intentional when it is time to actually go to bed and sleep for the night. Tip 3 is make your bedroom like a cave.
I love it.
I love it.
And yes, imagine with me what a cave feels like. So it is cool, dark, and quiet. Cool is different for each person, so it's relative.
Yes, it is.
My cool might be 65 degrees, but yours might be 70 or 75.
Or 80 if you're sober.
It's relative, right?
It is.
Yeah. All right.
So therefore, working with the care receiver to figure out which temperature is ideal, making sure that it's cool, and then setting it there because our body likes cool when we're falling asleep.
Yeah.
Darkness, and dark means, you're turning off the lights. I do recognize, and one of the caveats I always say is, especially for the person or you yourself as the caregiver, when you're getting up to use a restroom at night, you need light. So having a plug-in with light that's movement activated in one of the lower outlets would help. So when you get up, the light can come on and show you the way to the bathroom. And the other thing is quiet. Quiet can be, there is no sound, but then some people do like sound. So if you do like sound, I would recommend using white noise or brown noise or pink noise, having the fan on. fan with consistent noise,
Right.
not something that's going to
Soft.
change in frequency.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And
So-
sometimes it can cover up the noise that's not consistent. That's keeping you
Exactly.
awake.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you don't
Yeah.
want something that's going to change in frequency and variation with the noise. Or
Which
something
we'll talk
like
more
that.
about that later.
We will talk about that later. Yes.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about quiet, if I think quiet all the way through, is quiet isn't just the noise around you, but quiet is quieting your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And tip 4 is something I never, ever thought of before, and I love it, which is schedule worry time earlier in the day.
Where
So
were
tell us
you a
about
few
that.
years ago?
Exactly, because I
That would
needed
have
that.
been a really, really good tip.
This is a brilliant one. Yeah.
And whether or not you're a caregiver, you worry because life is happening. And when life happens, we all have experiences that we're going to think about and process. So it might be something that happened today that I need to process, or that I have things that are happening tomorrow that I need to plan out. And guess the best time that we do that or we think about that when the day is done and we go and we lay down in our bed. It's the ideal moment for all these things to come back and flood our minds.
You're like, hey, we've got a place to come. Come on. Here we go. Here we go. They're quiet. We can come in. We can come in now.
Now you have time for me, like it or not.
Right.
Yeah, here I come.
So we don't want that to happen. So we're telling you, suggesting that you schedule time to process and think about all you have to do tomorrow before you get into bed.
That
So
is
about-
huge.
It is huge.
Yes.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about 15 to 30 minutes. You don't need a lot of time to just think about that before you go to bed. And after you've done that, guess what? When you go to bed, you don't have those coming again because you've already dealt with it. Now, if you do wake up during the night and there's something on your mind, and you're thinking about it and processing solutions, then wake up and get out of the bed and go somewhere else and do it. Because we don't want your mind to associate being in bed with doing all these other things. If it's a small minor thing that you just need to write down and then turn over and go back to bed, then it might be okay to have a small notebook close to your bedside that you can jot it down and go back to bed. But if you're going to be awake and thinking about it, be awake outside of the bed.
It's a huge distinction because I know that I would wake up and stay in bed and be thinking through things sometimes for hours,
Mhm.
working through things,
Me too.
or
Or
have the
working.
computer on the
Yeah,
Right.
working. Not even working through things,
not
working.
even, bag sleep. Yeah. So that's really a valuable tip.
Yeah. Which is the whole point, right? Of tip 5, which is actually only do the things in the bedroom that need to be done in the bedroom, right?
Make
Yes.
the bedroom the bedroom.
So keep your bedroom for the 3 S's: sleep, sickness, and sex. Avoid scrolling on the phone, especially these days. We do that a lot.
Yes, we
We get in bed and we say, oh, we're not ready to sleep yet. So let me get my phone and see what's going on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. There's so many things to keep us awake these days. The television, many of us have a TV in our bedrooms and we might have a hard time giving it up. But I tell people who participate in my studies, just try it for a week and see how it goes. And then after that, you can reevaluate. Avoid working, avoid reading. So anything that's not those 3 S's, avoid doing them in the bed. And the goal is to connect your brain with going to bed and going to sleep. So you want, when you go into bed, that this is a cue for me to go to sleep and not a cue for me to do all these other things which are not sleep.
That was huge for me because I was not aware of that being a thing. I mean, when you're talking about the time that you get up and having your body associate, so what you've learned is that your body actually does associate. I'm going to bed, I'm going to sleep, and you teach that to it. You mentioned that there was someone in your study who at first was like, "Oh yeah, right, I'm not doing that," and then you encouraged them to do it for a week, which they did. And what was the outcome?
I think that's one of the, if it's the only thing that they remember, it is that. And I have asked them to talk to other participants, and that's one of the first things they mentioned, the fact that they initially didn't want to give up the television and they did, and how much that actually improved their sleep in the end.
Love it. That's awesome. Well, you mentioned to us, and I thought this was interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. Is, you go through sleep cycles, right? And some are lighter sleep.
Yes.
And when you're in a lighter sleep cycle, the television is actually interrupting your sleep
Yes.
because it's noise. So back to noise again.
Glenna, thank you so much. I've learned a lot from this. Nancy, I think you have as well. Things we just weren't aware of that can be very, very helpful. And you're actually doing a study about this. So you kind of did the teaser about that from the very beginning. Please share for us more information about the study.
I will be happy to. So hopefully you have learned a few tips that you can use to incorporate in both your and the care receiver's sleep routine as you move forward. And this study, as a reminder, we're recruiting pairs. So both the person who's living with cognitive impairment, and that could be subjective, where they feel like there is some cognitive changes happening across the trajectory to dementia. You don't have to be diagnosed. So the person who is receiving the care receiver doesn't have to be diagnosed with dementia, just have a complaint or an experience of cognitive changes. And caregivers or care partners, so both people participating, both having some type of a sleep disturbance or a sleep problem. So that could be difficulty falling asleep, difficulty staying asleep, meaning that you fall asleep and then you wake up, and when you wake up you have a hard time falling back asleep, or significant daytime sleepiness, or some other type of impairment during the day. It's for people who are living within the contiguous U.S. So any of the United States, you are eligible to participate. And you do get an honorarium. Each of you get an honorarium for participating as a thank you for your time and investment in participating in the study. And if you have any questions or want to find out more about the study, then please reach out to us. Our telephone number is 404-712-9164, or you can email us at drbrewsterlab@emory.edu, or you can check out our lab's website. It's www.mind@rest.org.
That's such a great name.
It is a great name.
Such a great name.
And we'll put all these links in the show notes as well, so that if you didn't get a chance to write those down, we'll put them in the show notes, and we'll also put them in the notes, the blog.
There you go.
So it'll be easy to find.
Yes.
Well, we really do appreciate it. I want to thank you very much as well, and tell you how much we enjoyed, and hopefully I'll execute on some of these things myself.
I hope you can.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So let's summarize. Today we talked with Dr. Glenna Brewster about her sleep study. We talked about 5 tips. First, practice good sleep hygiene. Second, limit daytime naps. Third, I love this one, make your bedroom like a cave. Fourth, and I love this one too, actually. I don't know which one I love the most. Schedule worry time earlier in the day. I wish I'd known that years ago.
Oh, so do I.
And the 5th one is keep the bedroom for the 3 S's. And if you have tips that will help people sleep, either as caregivers or for their care receivers, please put those tips on our Facebook page or our Instagram page. The links are in the show notes. As all our podcasts, pay attention to the podcast number and go to thecaregiversjourney.org, and you can find the blog with the same number. And effectively, we've taken notes for you. That's what the blog is. Yeah. If you like this podcast, please share it with other people that you think it might help. Please follow us or subscribe to it. We really, really appreciate it. And as we always say, we're all on this journey together.